one of the top IITs, so I chose IIT Bombay over, data science was not even a term at that time, right? I didn't disclose that I'm leaving my job to my parents. My wife was extremely supportive, so that was awesome. So at that time you would run a SQL query, go around for a few hours and get this team, grew from like a 2-member setup to a 20-member setup.
So were you also missing your fatty paycheck which you were getting?
So Bootcamp is a very, very special product. At least 40-50% of students would say that they want to build a career in data science.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Learning Bridge. I hope you guys are doing good and staying safe. So I am back with another amazing and really interesting podcast. And this is the kind of podcast which I'm doing for the very first time, because today I will be having a discussion with an entrepreneur who has created India's largest data science community and world's second largest data science community. And that platform is really, really popular in India and across the globe among the data professionals. That is none other than Analytics Vidhya. And we will be having an amazing discussion with his founder, Mr. Kunal Jain. And his journey is also very, very inspiring and very motivating, because he completed his aerospace engineering from IIT Bombay in 2006. After that, he started his corporate journey, that too in London, and was making good money there. And after a few years, he quit his amazing high paying job and came back to India and started with a vision to create India's first largest data community. And Kunal and Analytics Vidhya are trying their level best to help all the data professionals in best possible way. So there are so many inspiring and motivational things to learn from his journey, his life experience into the analytics, and most important, his ups and downs into this entrepreneurship journey. So make sure to watch this podcast till the very end, and do like this video in really, really big numbers, because these kind of motivation is much, much needed. So awesome, Kunal. First of all, really happy to meet you again. I know last time when I visited the Analytics Vidhya event, it was a great interacting with you, but this is first opportunity where I'm gonna talk to an entrepreneur, right? Okay. So I would definitely love to know more about you, and we'll deep dive into your life. So I'm pretty sure many of you might already know about Kunal, but Kunal, let's say somebody who's watching you for the very first time, so it would be really great if you can talk about yourself, your academic background, anything about your professional or you think which is relevant for the audience.
Sure, great. Now coming to myself, so obviously I am founder of Analytics Vidhya, but if I were to step back, right, so I passed out of IIT Bombay back in 2006. So I studied aerospace engineering, so 2001 to 2006, dual degree aerospace engineering, and I did my specialization in computational fluid dynamics, right? So passed out in 2006, and then went directly to work with Capital One in UK. Spent about 4 years in Capital One working in different roles, right? So starting from risk management to customer management, and finally customer acquisition and marketing strategy. Then in 2010, I decided to come back to India because I wanted to be in India in long term. Okay. So came back to India. At that time, Aviva Life Insurance was setting up its analytics team. So I started leading that team, and this team which I started at Aviva grew to a 20-member team over the next 3.5 years. And that's about the time when I started Analytics Vidhya on the side. And from 2014, I've been doing and growing Analytics Vidhya day in and day out.
Awesome. I'm really amazed to hear about aerospace engineering, that too from IIT Bombay. Who told you that you should go for the aerospace engineering part, or it was like your thought, I'll move into it?
So it was a combination of factors, right? So first, deciding factor is rank, right? You have to go by what rank you are at, and then what options do you have available. Okay. So that was one. Out of the options which were there, clearly aerospace looked like the one which excited me the most, and also the bet I took at that time. So this was pre-September 2001, right? So the bet was that in future aerospace is going to be a big industry, right? Sadly 9/11 happened after that, so the industry took a different turn, but that was the thought that at the rank I was, so which was around 1500 in JEE. Among the options, I was very clear that I wanted to choose one of the top IITs. So I chose IIT Bombay over, let's say, some of the other IITs. So IIT Bombay, and then within that, out of the streams which was available, aerospace looked like the most exciting, and it's a stream I enjoyed, really enjoyed.
Like 2006, you started your career, and So how this transition happened, right? How this excitement came for data science, data analytics 16 years back. It would be really amazing to know like how somebody decided to pick data science, data analytics. That time it was not also in boom. Like nobody can even predict how it is going to be after 16 years.
Right. Very true. So here is what happened, right? So I enjoyed aerospace as a subject, right? So from a subject perspective, it's still something which I still kind of follow to see, what's happening in the industry. But what happened was when I came out of college, the career options at that time in aerospace were very limited, right? So you could join a airline, their crew management, etc., but they were not as exciting. The other option was to kind of look at HAL or NAL, but they were very limiting, or they felt very limiting. So that's when I started exploring, okay, what else could be a good career option. And as I mentioned, my specialization was in computational fluid dynamics, right? So in very simple terms, it's essentially simulating the flow over aircraft bodies and then seeing how would they perform in different wind conditions, right? So there was a lot of computation involved there. In fact, some of the algorithms which we use there are the same algorithms which we use in analytics, right? So in some sense, I started my analytics journey there. And in that sense, Capital One, when they came to campus, was a very unique role, right? So the role was that you have to solve business problems using data and algorithms. So it looked interesting. I talked to a few seniors who were at Capital One at that time, and it was clearly exciting. Data science was not even a term at that time, right? So the only thing I knew was there would be data. I would use mathematics and statistics to solve business problems, and that's essentially the brief which I had. So at that time, you would run a SQL query and then go around for a few hours and get some rows back. So it was very different kind of analytics than what we do today.
Yeah, that was my next question. Like 16 years back, you can not even imagine dashboarding tools, fast computing engines or anything like that. And that time you like started, and your vision, right, after 16 years, someone who started Analytics Vidhya and just providing best of the best for all the aspiring data professionals.
Right. In fact, so here is the insight, right? So when I started at that time, Capital One was using Excel and SQL. Those were the only two tools, right? And then the usual workflow would be you would run a query in SQL, get the data. Most of the times, the minute you put that data in Excel would crash, right? So and then you would apply some pivot tables and then do your analysis, right? So that's the very early impression about the industry. During those 4 years at Capital One, we moved to SAS as a tool. So SAS, and it felt like moving from a car to a rocket. That's the kind of change it felt. So we moved from SQL and Excel to Teradata and SAS, and then it was change where the queries or the analysis which would take 3 days were crunched to a few hours. So that's the first time when I saw the transformation because of technology.
This is really amazing, and like you have seen the whole journey of data analytics. Seems like it's from the beginning and the way like it is moving ahead. So it's really amazing. And any of you who, let's say, having 10-12 years of experience and you have also seen these differences or this journey of data, right, or whatever you did from your starting days till this point, you can mention it in the comments. I would love to see how have you seen the industry in terms of the data and data analytics. Alright, so Kunal, you talked about the Capital One in 2006, right? And then after that, you came to India and joined Aviva, right? So what was the thought, right? Because when you are in foreign countries, you are making good money, fatty paycheck, right? And what suddenly happened that you took that decision, no, let's go back to India and just do something there?
Right. So a bit of context into it, right? So when I went to UK, in fact, while I was going there, I told my parents that I'll come back in a year. So even when I went there, I was in that mindset that I'll take that experience, I'll take that learning, and I'll come back to India because in long term, I wanted to do something of my own in India. So that part was very clear even before going to UK. I ended up staying 4 years instead of one. But yeah, I think what also happened in the background, right? So UK was coming out of this recession, and then the growth rates were almost flatlined, right? As a country, and then when you spend so much time in India, we are just so used to double-digit growths that the economy growing at 7%, 8%. So I was just feeling like while I've taken all the learnings and I could apply it in a scenario where the growth is faster. So I said that let me move back to India, and that's when I decided to come back to India. Parallelly, this opportunity with Aviva also came up, right? So Aviva Life Insurance was setting up its analytics team at that time. So it fit really well because I was looking at starting something of my own in long term, and here was an opportunity where I was starting something new, but I need not have the risk of a startup. So those 4 years in that sense was really great that I could learn on with the backing of a large corporate. But at the same time, the way we operated, the way we ran this team was very startup-like. And then this team, grew from like a 2-member setup to a 20-member setup in a period of 3 years.
So were you also missing your fatty paycheck which you were getting in UK?
I think so. That's part of the overall package. You have to sign it up. The part which I missed a lot was just the cultural differences, right? So in UK you are in a very structured environment. People plan for months ahead. India, you could do things like you decide something today, you could roll it out tomorrow. So it's very dynamic. It's very fast moving, and so for a good period of 1.5 to 2 years, I took that time to adjust to this very different culture and environment.
When you were at Aviva, so what was the time when you came up with the Analytics Vidhya idea? Like, what was the thought process? Did you observe something? And I would definitely love to know, like from the zero, how did you start with the Analytics Vidhya part?
So as I said, right, in the background, this idea of starting something of my own was always there, right? So parallelly, what happened was, if you think about it, I moved from a place which had like hundreds of analysts sitting on a single floor to a setup where it was just these 15 people, and then I was leading these 15 people, right? So my personal learning felt very limited. So in a way, I was, whatever I had learned at Capital One, I was applying that to solve problems here. The nature of learning I had at Aviva were very different, right? So managing large team, managing the stakeholders, taking a project and implementing it. So, and what was happening was, during this entire 3.5 years with Aviva, this need of having a knowledge portal where people in the analytics industry could talk to each other, talk about their problems, their challenges, kept coming back again and again. So in 2013, because my role was very different at Aviva, I said, let me start writing blogs about my learning, and in the process, I'll also learn, right? So when you commit yourself to doing something regularly and sharing your knowledge, you'll yourself go through a lot of learning, and that's what happened, right? So I started this blog in 2013, and over the next 9 months, right, it was very exciting to see it grow. So when I started writing, people started following back. People started coming and asking questions, right? And I remember those things, right? The first subscriber, the first question which came. So all of that happened in this 9 month, and it was very clear to me by that time that I could create a much larger impact by pursuing analytics with their full time rather than continuing in my role at Aviva. So and at this time there was the business model about analytics there was not clear. The guiding thing was, I know that what I'm doing is creating value, and then it is helping people in their learning, in their career, and I think it would become big at some point. So that's how I took the plunge. In fact, 3 months after I had started Analytics Vidhya was when I got the first revenue from Analytics Vidhya. So when I started, it wasn't very clear in terms of how the revenue would come and when it would come. But what was very clear was that whatever I'm doing is adding a lot of value and people are benefiting from it.
Yeah, I definitely like this point. And the thing you were explaining, right, when you started writing your first blog, your first subscriber, your first question, right, I can definitely relate with it, because that's how even I started my channels. And I feel it, whenever you are in a state where you think that you can give back to the community, you should definitely start doing it, because you also consume from the community. And if you are not giving back to them, then who will like do that? This question is something which is really common to each and every entrepreneur, right? So when like you started this Analytics Vidhya as a full time, you left your job from the Aviva. What was the reaction from your family and friends? What was their reaction, or were there anything from your parents or family which were holding you back? No, I should again just quit this idea of AV and go back to some corporate stuff.
Yeah. So in fact, I'll share a bit more detail. So at this time, 2013 I started. August 2013 we were blessed with a baby girl, right? So young kid at house, and I was taking a plunge where the revenues were not sorted, right? So I was leaving my job with a cushy paycheck. So it was unnerving in some sense, right? But this belief that people are benefiting from it, that was, I think, the key, that I could see this bigger thing. So what I did was, I didn't disclose that I'm leaving my job to my parents. For a period of good 4-5 months, right, I would go back to, so whenever I would go to my hometown, I would show the Google Analytics app to my father and my mother, that see what I'm writing, people from all across the globe are coming and reading it. And then I would show them live that, see, here is a person from US, here are 5 people from this geography. So I almost, in a very soft manner, I started influencing them that, I'm doing something, so that when I tell them that I'm planning to leave and doing this full time, it's not as much of a shock to them. But yeah, initial days were thankfully also, I think, so my entire family is also, there are quite a few entrepreneurs, and then so in that sense it wasn't that difficult as well. But yeah, my parents were concerned for a brief period. My wife was extremely supportive, so that was great. And the plus side was I could get a lot more time with my kid, right? So that was the best part of starting at that time.
I think this is the most important part for anyone, not just the entrepreneur, at least for everyone. If you plan to do something, you need that support, right? There is no one to hold you back, then probably you won't feel motivated. You will be always in that mindset that nobody is trusting me, or nobody is trusting on my capabilities. Anyone who has been through these phases, share your experience. I would love to hear your stories. Okay, so Kunal, now this question, when let's say you started with the Analytics Vidhya, right? So sometimes what happens, many companies, right, they start with a vision that in coming futures we'll be doing this stuff, and this will be our long-term goal. But sometimes in between, what happens, probably just because of the market needs or anything like that, they took a slight diversion, or they completely move from their initial goals or long-term goals they planned. So any scenario or any time you remember that you also did the same, or if not, then why?
There were a couple of differences in the way I was building Analytics Vidhya, right? So one, I was extremely patient, right? So in that sense, I was ready to bootstrap for long term, right? So I was very clear that I would not go down the route that, this is the revenue number I am targeting, or this is the number of users we need to have. I was ready to, because, the driver was the value creation for people. So in that sense, I think I was very patient about what we were doing. And we were also very open at the same time, right? So we said that we continuously listen to our users, and whatever they were saying, we tried to make sense what would be the next logical step for Analytics Vidhya. So in that sense, we built Analytics Vidhya very organically, step by step. Were there change in vision? I think no. So vision from day one was very clear, right? So adding value for the community and building the next generation ecosystem for India and globally. So what would the analytics world look like in future, right? And I think even till date we are still following the same mission. If anything, it has become bigger, right? So vision, I don't think there were changes. Were there changes in business model? 100%, right? So and as I said, the only guiding factor was what does the community want and how can we add more value, right? So in initial days of Analytics Vidhya, the revenue was coming from advertisement or doing events for community. Then we launched our hackathons and competitions. So hiring became one of the key areas in which we were monetizing. And then we launched trainings and then we conducted data hack summit. So the business model keeps evolving, and then I'm sure it would continue to evolve. But the larger vision, thankfully in our case, we never needed to pivot, and I think part of the reason was that we were ready to be patient. We were building for long term, and then we were clear that if it adds value to community, it will grow organically. We don't need to necessarily push things to kind of pursue higher growth. That I think was the key differentiator.
Yeah, and I think that is the thing which highlights the Analytics Vidhya, right, in a very different way. If you talk about the EdTech ecosystem in India, right? So your starting vision was to empower the analytics part in India or globally, and that's what you are doing. And this is the great. And I have seen multiple EdTechs, right? They start with something else, and at the end they are doing something very random. And then probably after some years they are just quitting and going back to home. Next question, Kunal, is when you start something your own, right? Your entrepreneur journey. So it's not like in a single shot you have become successful, your startup or your company is making good progress. So in that journey you would have faced multiple failures as well, demotivation as well, probably thoughts like quitting this thing and again go back to my corporate world and make money there, right? So do you remember any that kind of event in your starting days of Analytics Vidhya where you failed and you experimented and you learned from your mistakes?
Sure. So lots of them, right? You can't improve unless you experiment, right?
Yeah.
So, and then even today, right, the culture we have built at Analytics Vidhya, we go out, we experiment a lot of things. Some of those work, some of them don't. But we come out wiser, right? That's been the ethos at Analytics Vidhya. So have we failed? Yes, multiple times, right? And then there have been multiple instances. For example, at one point we came out with a product where we said that we would teach data science in a one-on-one setting, almost like a White Hat Junior for data science, right? And then we realized that actually people value the peer learning a lot. So this was the product which we called Data Science Guru at that time, and then we experimented with it and we rolled it back, right? So huge amount of learnings. And then any entrepreneurship journey has its own set of failures. Thankfully, the thought of quitting never came, and as I said, I was ready to do the hard work for long term. So in that sense, there was no extra pressure I had created around myself. I was clear that what I'm doing adds value, and then that kept on increasing, right? So the impact which we were creating was very visible. So that was a big motivator. And I was clear that, as long as that is adding value, we'll be good. And then thankfully, quitting never came to my mind, fingers crossed. And did we have failures? Yeah, a lot of them. But as I said, right, it's about the learnings you take. For example, this Data Science Guru as a product, at some point, I think we'll try it again. I don't think it's out, but maybe the timing was not
better
right.
Plan something.
Exactly.
Cool. I think this answer can be a motivation for so many students as well, because a general tendency, like when folks reach out to me, like we interviewed somewhere and we have been rejected by this number of companies, these many number of companies, right? So I think learning from the failures is the best thing, right? You can do, not repeating those kind of mistakes and take it positively. Just see the silver lining, and that's how you can keep yourself motivated as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kunal, when last time I visited the Analytics Vidhya event, right, that was the first time I got to know about the bootcamp part, right, and it is like really booming in the market. I got to hear about these data science bootcamp, which helped lots of folks to land into good companies. Some folks, like even I did a podcast with them, they were completely from non-tech background and like landed into good companies for the data science roles. So I would definitely love to hear the behind the stories of this bootcamp, how this idea came up, and what was the vision behind of starting these kind of boot camps.
So bootcamp is a very special product because it is a product which has a very clear problem which it is solving, right? And the genesis of that problem was this, that if you talk to students today, right? If you go to any engineering college and you talk to the students there, you'll see at least 40-50% of students would say that they want to build a career in data science, right? And almost every student would have considered a career in data science in their college days. So huge willingness, right? When you talk to companies, every company says that they are not able to find the talent. But at the same time, these companies were not open to hiring freshers and giving them chances, right? So both the sides you see there is this problem, and that's where we said that if it requires to pick people early in their career, give them enough training with an intense schedule to make sure that they are ready for and they are ready at the same level as let's say person who has spent 2 years in industry and 3 years in industry. Let's do that. And then we said that we'll do it with a lot of ownership. And once a student is selected into bootcamp, then it is Analytics Vidhya's responsibility that we'll make sure that you get into the industry in a data science role with a package which proves that you've got the required jump. And then the kind of transformations which we have seen are just immense, right? So on an average, people get 250% salary hike when they go through bootcamp. So it's a product which came out of a very clear need, and it just needed someone to say that we'll do whatever is required to get to this outcome. And then I think that's what we have done. And what we have done really well with bootcamp is we said that this is the outcome, but we'll iterate it every time, right? So the first batch, the way we were running it is very different to what we do today, right? And then there have been so much learning. The first batch was planned to be offline, a 12-month period. Today it's a 6-month, 7-month program, completely delivered online, right? So, but the mission about what bootcamp is still stays, and then the results which are coming out are just heartwarming, right? So every student who goes through bootcamp is special, and we do everything to ensure that that guy or that girl makes their career in the industry.
Now, this is awesome and big relief for me, because whenever I post a video on my channel, then students, or mostly the entry level freshers, they come and comment, so you're talking about these folks who are cracking big companies with these many packages, but what about freshers? Companies are not even like hiring us, or they always put a constraint of the experience or something. And I think this is a big relief for me. Now you can hear from Kunal as well, like how these boot camps are actually helping freshers to get industry ready and move into the data science field. So you will find the link for the boot camps in the description. You can check that out, and you can also transform your career and even crack big of the big companies with some really cool packages. So at least I'm very thankful that Kunal, you took this initiative and you actually thought about all those freshers as well who face these difficulties to get experience and land into the good companies.
Yeah, clearly. I mean, it's just phenomenal if you look at the two sides, and then there clearly there are problems existing, but that bridge is still was missing till a few years back.
Cool. So Kunal, last question. So far you have come a long way with Analytics Vidhya. Started probably with only one employee. Probably it would have been you only, right? And then handling these many folks and taking new initiative each and every year to help the data community, right? So if you have planned anything for the next 5-6 years, so if you can share with this thing with the audience, it would be really good to know what is next coming up from the Analytics Vidhya side and how it can help the entire data community?
Yeah. So again, first of all, 5-6 years is a very long time frame. We don't realize it, but a lot of things change. But what I'm pretty sure of is the vision which we are following, right? So we are building India's next generation data ecosystem, right? So starting from the point a person thinks about capturing data, to using data, to building intelligence on it, to finally delivering visualizations, dashboards, models. That's the place where we'll play, right? And then we would create this entire ecosystem that from the day the person thinks about learning to the day they want to upskill. We want Analytics Vidhya to essentially play that role for people, right? So any technology which would come in this space is where we'll be focused on, right? What we are also very clear is we will stay very outcome focused, right? So all our training programs are outcome focused, as we talked about Bootcamp, right? They are very industry aligned, right? So we don't want to put college degrees online. What we want to do is essentially see what the industry needs, right? And that's why we work very closely with industry. At any given point, we hire for at least 50-60 partners through jobathons, through hackathons. So we work very closely with them to understand what are they looking, what are the skills they want to hire for future, and we ensure that that feedback goes into our program, right? So that's where we'll focus on. So outcome driven programs, creating a clear impact on the community, and then my dream is that 5 years down the line, people across the globe say that if there is a data science ecosystem you should be part of, it's there in India, right? And that's what would be success in my mind, right? So creating that ecosystem and whatever new technologies come is where we'll be.
The niche is something which is really important, and that's what you want to keep it for moving forward. So this is great, and I would say this is a great experience for me, Kunal. Like to know more about you, your journey, how you started Analytics Vidhya, and the future vision, and whatever you are doing for the entire data community, which is completely fabulous. And it was motivating as well, right, to know how things started for you when you started 2006, when data analytics was not even in the picture, right? You have seen the whole journey of data analytics, data science, so it's great. And I got to learn a lot from your experience, and I would also take few pointers to implement, and if in future I would start something my own, definitely I'll take some advices from you, Kunal.
Sure.
So it was great, amazing. So again, when we talk about the bootcamp, so if you also want to transform your career into the data science, you want to follow that path, find the link in the description for the bootcamp. And if you have any suggestions, anything related to Kunal, any queries for Analytics Vidhya, or anything you want to share about this podcast, how you felt about it, motivation, opinions, thoughts, put it in the comment section. So thank you so much, Kunal.
Thanks Shashank, and great talking to you.
Same.
Thank you.
So that's what I had for you guys in this podcast. I'm pretty sure you would have enjoyed this entire conversation and the life experience of Kunal, his entrepreneurship journey. If yes, then do like this video in really big numbers and share this video with your friends who want to start their own things and want to feel motivated. And if you're new to the channel and watching any of my video for the very first time, make sure to hit the subscribe button and press the notification icon. I will see you guys in the next weekend with another amazing podcast. Till then, just stay safe, stay home, take care of yourself and your family too.